Welcome back to Morning in America. A new survey finds 40% of small business owners are struggling to pay rent. And you know that also it's been really, really impossible for a lot of people to purchase homes due to high prices and high interest rates. So, you know, the Biden administration has touted very, very big wins. They are now pitching Bidenomics to voters, defined as growing the economy from the middle out and the bottom up, not the top down. Making smart investments in America, empowering workers, and promoting competition to lower costs. Those are all very clear talking points, but is it nothing more than that? Chris Hahn, NewsNation political analyst, and Gabriella Hoffman, senior fellow at the Independent Women's Forum, are here with me to share both the Democratic and Republican side. Chris, when I saw this, I actually retweeted the president's post with some questions, including what exactly is a smart investment in America? Do you know?
I think anything that creates wealth for the middle class, for people who are just coming up, giving people opportunities to grow their own income, grow their own wealth. I think that's what the president means. I think that's why he's investing in Wi-Fi across the country. I think that's why they're investing in real infrastructure changes. That's why the CHIPS Act, which was a bipartisan bill that increases manufacturing jobs in the high-tech sector, was such an important win for the president. And I think that's what he's talking about. Look, he's grown the economy. The economy has recovered dramatically since he took over. There have been over 13 million jobs created, which is 12.2 million more jobs than his predecessor created in his 4 years as president. And he's doing a good job that way. But look, the American people have this malaise about the economy. Even though they may feel they are doing well personally, they think the direction of the country is going wrong. And I think that has more to do with other factors other than the economy. I think there's a lot of mistrust in institutions and sometimes even each other in the American people right now. And that's something the president is going to have to work very hard to overcome during this campaign.
Yeah, I don't know that he's going to instill trust in people. I think that's going to take a wide-ranging, multifaceted approach from somebody. I don't know that the White House can do it. Gabriella, whether Democrat or Republican, do you think most Americans believe they're doing better financially and that the country is?
I have to take issue with my co-panelist's statement there. Most Americans are still reeling in from the COVID pandemic, which displaced a lot of people, especially those on Main Street. You talk about smart investments. Smart investments in what? The government shouldn't be the key decider and player in investments. It's supposed to act as a neutral arbiter. It's not supposed to get in the way of the private sector where true growth is supposed to be witnessed. Small businesses are still reeling in from record high inflation. You talk to any consumer, big city or not, you're having to pay more for basic goods and commodities. You talk about empowering workers. I looked at that tweet and I was like, what workers are being empowered? Because he's giving preferential treatment to a particular set of workers that are comprised of the shrinking unionized workforce. And he's going after his labor department, after legitimate independent contractors and freelancers for wanting to choose to work flexibly and independently of a union or a traditional work arrangement. His IRS is going after 1099 filers, those who are making just barely over $600 per transaction. That is a complete, complete abuse of government power, going after small businesses, saying you're for middle and lower income workers and business owners. It really is a hostile climate to small business creators, those working independently, and he can't say that Bidenomics is working.
Chris,
the president.
The Wall Street Journal might agree with Gabriella here, and they said it's logically inconsistent for Biden to disown inflation while taking credit for tight labor markets, pointing to our overheated economy. Some might be asking, what exactly the president's smoking when he says there's a good economy?
The economy has grown jobs, wealth has increased. You know, one of the programs he instituted, I talked about the CHIPS Act. It has helped create 800,000 new manufacturing jobs.
But are people working in them,
Chris? It is undeniable. People are.
Are they going to work?
It's created they are going to work, and they are creating work here, and they're taking it back from overseas. This is what the president did. It was a bipartisan act. But the question is the disconnect, right? The American people might feel that their own wealth and their own personal lives are better, but they do not believe the country is doing better economically. And this is not something that is new just to this. Yeah,
I heard you say that the first time.
New to President. I'm saying it again. I think it's worth repeating, especially this early in the morning, which I don't know how you do this every day, Adrienne. Hat off to you. But it is.
It takes a village.
It is something worth. It does, I'm sure. It takes a lot of coffee for me. It is definitely worth repeating, and it is definitely worth understanding that there are growth in jobs. But the president, look, the inflation that's happening in this country has started to stabilize. It is on a trend to be down to normal levels by the end of this year, which means we're going to fight the election year under normal inflation circumstances.
Chris, what's normal?
That could be good for the president.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.